Chapter 55, Fight the Reverend. Crown Prince takes Windmaster's place. However, Shi Qingxuan did not utter another sound. Shi Lian knew this was bad news. Lord Windmaster, what happened to you? Are you still there? What's going on? Why aren't you saying anything? If he had only been pulled away by rowdy night cruisers who were seeking a bit of fun, he wouldn't be so quiet all of a sudden. He already met with harm. But his anxiety was useless, since he didn't even know where the Windmaster was right now. The mob finally quieted down, and Mingyi was able to push his way out of the Temple of Wind and Water. The heavenly realm had a decree to never use spiritual powers on mortals for selfish reasons, nor to appear before them at will. If mortals were harmed or their lives taken, demerits would be imposed. The decree certainly made things difficult for law-abiding heavenly officials. Otherwise, they would have sent those people flying like that roof with just a wave of their hand. The crowd finally snapped out of their shock and started screaming wildly. It's appeared! It really appeared! Monsters have come! With that, the crowd broke up and dispersed. Lord Earthmaster, Shi Lian asked anxiously, how come you didn't hold on to Lord Windmaster earlier? Have you seen him? When was he lost? The ghosts snuck in and were ambushing people in the middle of all the confusion, Mingyi explained. It seemed that he'd seen there were lives on the line and diverted his attention to go save them. He'd fended off the ghost attack, but he lost a friend. Let's split up and search, Shi Lian said. He shouldn't have gone far. Suddenly, Shi Qingxuan's voice came over the communication array anew. He was laughing boisterously. The laughter was abrupt, but at least there was finally something. Lord Windmaster, what happened to you just now? Why did you stop talking all of a sudden? Shi Lian hurriedly asked. I thought something happened to you. How can anything happen to this Windmaster? I was only trying to scare you all. Mingxuan, you bastard, how dare you not grab hold of me? If I die, I'm definitely turning into a Supreme to come and hunt you. Stop your ha-haing. Say something comprehensible, Mingyi demanded. Shi Lian knew that the more anxious and frightened Shi Qingxuan was, the more he would ha-ha. In fact, he'd even forgotten to pause between words. You didn't open your mouth to speak, did you? Shi Lian interrupted. Your face didn't show any obvious reaction. Have you fought back? I didn't speak. My expression didn't change. I haven't fought back, Shi Qingxuan answered. Oh, dear, he's scared silly. Shi Lian relaxed his tone into something gentler. Very good. Lord Windmaster, listen to me. Everything's all right. Don't be scared. Keep on as you have and pretend you didn't notice anything. If you have something to say it secretly in the communication array. Absolutely do not let the creature notice that you know what it is. Secretly spread your divine aura to form a spiritual circle beneath your feet to protect yourself. That way you can at least ensure you won't trip or fall into a ditch. You'll be able to sense any incoming weapons, too. Shi Qingxuan sounded like he was on the verge of tears. Okay, and then take a deep breath, Shi Lian said. That's it, a couple times. Do you feel a little better? His tone was very gentle and quite effective at reassuring people. Maybe a little bit, Shi Qingxuan said. Thanks, Your Highness. Shi Lian then tried probing. And now, how do you think you would feel if you tried to open your eyes to sneak a peek at the creature pulling you along? Would he be able to handle it? I'd probably die, Shi Qingxuan said. It seemed that if Shi Qingxuan took so much as a glance, his terror would peak the moment he did, and he would turn into a most delicious meal for the Reverend of Empty Words. After that, he would probably lose any capacity for self-defense. Furthermore, if that thing was staring back at him the moment he opened his eyes, the esteemed Windmaster would probably foam at the mouth and crash like a fallen star. Why don't you just keep your eyes closed, then? Shi Lian advised. What direction did it head in after you took it from the Temple of Wind and Water? Mingyi asked. They urgently needed Shi Qingxuan's location. Shi Qingxuan's eyes were closed, and he couldn't see where he was going, but he could approximate his location based on his general bearing and an account of his steps. And yet, Shi Qingxuan replied, I don't know. You don't even know that? Shi Qingxuan was outraged. Who in their right mind would take note of something like that? And I thought it was you pulling me, didn't I? Chang was still only observing the proceedings from the sidelines, and was already bored to the point he'd changed back into his red robes. Then he changed to black robes again. Then to white robes. Almost every time Shi Lian looked back, he was sporting a new look, and with every new look, there were different hairstyles, different accessories, different boots, and so on. Sometimes playful, sometimes elegant, sometimes deadly, sometimes extravagant. Shi Lian was dazzled by all the colors, but he kept looking back, unable to keep his eyes off Chang for long. The moment he realized what he was doing, he blinked hard, only just stopping himself from impulsively blurting out, I don't know if it's not bad, or, that looks good. He said instead, Stop, now's not the time to argue. With every word, Lord Windmaster takes another step, and the farther he wanders, the harder he'll be to find. Shi Qingchuan moaned his grievance. Is it really that hard for you guys to find me? It hasn't been more than 50 or 60 steps, I think. It definitely can't be over 100. We're going super duper slow. Not over 100 steps. Mingyi swiftly charged to the end of the street and disappeared, then reappeared in an instant in front of the entrance of the Temple of Wind and Water. Not there. Curses. The teleportation array, Shilian cried. After the Reverend of Empty Words used the mayhem as cover to abduct the Windmaster from the Temple of Wind and Water, it probably cast a teleportation array and sent them both elsewhere. Otherwise, with a radius of only 100 steps to search, he should have been long since found. If the creature had used that spell, they could be anywhere in the world by now, and searching for the Windmaster would be like hunting for a needle in a haystack. They couldn't be careless in this affair, so Shilian immediately said, I will report to the upper court. However, Shi Qingchuan hastily stopped him. Wait! Your Highness, don't go! You promised to keep this a secret! My brother's third heavenly tribulation is coming soon. The third one is huge! He can't mess this up! Keep this up, and I'll make you go through a tribulation right this minute, Mingyi said. Shi Qingchuan was enraged. I said no, and I meant it. Do you have any idea how many eyes are watching my brother? That thing definitely timed this deliberately, but I won't let it have its way. Never. Even if I die and my bones rot, I'll only allow myself to be dug up after my brother's completed his trial. A moment later, Mingyi relented. Fine. Very well. Shilian's intuition was sharp, and he sensed a suppressed fury in Mingyi's tone. Such an intense emotion had never surfaced on him before, and it unsettled Shilian. Unwilling to allow any other problems to start, he cut in. Lord Windmaster, is the creature still dragging you along? Yeah, Shi Qingchuan replied. It's gripping my arm right now. Is there anything notable about its body? Like a peculiar evil aura, or a certain smell or feel? Shilian asked. No, there's nothing. What about your surroundings? Is the path under your feet rough or smooth? Have you stepped on anything or hit anything? Shilian wanted to see if he could draw a general perimeter based on the surrounding environment. The path is very strange, Shi Qingchuan said. Very soft, very light. It's like I'm walking on clouds. Shilian had no response, but thought to himself, You're probably just weak in the knees from terror. 2 out of 5 of Shi Qingchuan's senses were already sealed. It was hard enough just to scrape together any clues, and they likely had no more coming. Although Huacheng was with them, bored stiff while watching the show, his tagging along was purely for his own entertainment. He had no attachment to Shi Qingchuan whatsoever, and as an entity of the Ghost Realm, he had no reason to help a heavenly official. Furthermore, Shilian didn't want to trouble him by always begging for his help, so he steadied himself and voiced his idea. Lord Windmaster, I have a plan that might help you escape from the creature in a flash, but I need your permission. Okay, I give you permission, Shi Qingchuan replied without hesitation. However, Huacheng suddenly stiffened. The soul-shifting spell. What? Shi Qingchuan asked. That's right, Shilian responded. The soul-shifting spell. The soul-shifting spell was exactly as the name indicated. It was a spell that let the caster swap souls, to use one's eyes to gaze through another's. The spell wasn't used often, as it brutally burned spiritual power, and very few were willing to give up control of their bodies to begin with. Huacheng's expression grew serious. Guga, caution. What are you going to do if it looks at you? Shi Qingchuan asked. I'm not scared of it, so it doesn't matter, Shilian replied. Do it, Mingyi said. Huacheng, however, pressed him again. Guga, please reconsider. Suddenly, Shi Qingchuan said, It stopped moving. Hearing this, Shilian shouted in the communication array, There's no time to hesitate. Shi Qingchuan gritted his teeth. It's all up to you now, Your Highness. Okay, Shilian said. He closed his eyes as soon as the words left his mouth. All of a sudden, his body felt feather-light, light enough that it seemed he was floating into the heavens. Then, he abruptly became exceedingly heavy, heavy enough that it felt like he was going to plunge deep into the earth. The world whirled around him before his senses gradually returned. He steadied himself, but his eyes remained closed. He could not hear a single sound. There was a hand gripping his arm, and he was standing still. Shilian opened his eyes. One hand removed the earplugs, and the other twisted to seize the Reverend of Empty Words in a reverse hold. He smiled at the creature. Hi there. Shi Qingchuan's eyes had been closed for a long time, and it was pitch black all around them. Thus, when Shilian opened the eyes of Shi Qingchuan's body, he hadn't adjusted to the darkness and couldn't see anything. But whatever had been grabbing him was now being grabbed by him. Ruya wasn't here, so Shilian cast a locking spell to secure the hand like an iron cuff, preventing this creature from escaping with magic. Shi Qingxuan's voice came over the communication array. Your Highness, are you okay? If not, we'll switch back and I'll take care of it myself after all. It seemed Shi Qingxuan had also safely switched to his body. Shi Lian had a firm grip on the Reverend of Empty Words, and he clobbered it with over 30 hard kicks in the span of a second. I'm fine. Since their souls had only just been switched, they needed time to adjust. As soon as Shi Lian had gotten a chance to get used to this body, his moves would be even more brutal. Your Highness, let me tell you the incantation for manipulating my spiritual weapons. Use as much of my spiritual power as you need. Don't hold back. Shi Lian had no sword to wield, so he flashed open the windmaster fan. Okay. Shi Qingxuan then added, I'll tell you the spell for transforming into a woman. I'm stronger in my female form. Shi Lian resolutely refused. No, that's not necessary. Gaga, hurry and take a look at your surroundings, Hua Cheng said gravely. Tell me where you are. No, Ming Yi said. First, tell us what you're fighting right now. During their exchange, Shi Lian's eyes had adjusted to the dark environment. He squinted at the black shadow before him. However, even though the contours of the surrounding trees and branches could now be distinguished, he just couldn't make out the black shadow's face. It was as if there was a cloud of evil, black mist swirling around its figure. The Windmaster's fan was a first-rate spiritual device. It could blow away evil and cleanse the world. After he received the incantation spell from Shi Qingxuan, Shi Lian recited it in his mind and swept the fan. A whirlwind blew up from the ground, rattling the surrounding woods, and even a few of the small, weaker sprouts were pulled from their roots entirely. It was undeniably powerful, but unfortunately the wind had veered a little off course and it didn't hit the right target. Spiritual devices weren't easy to manipulate. He wasn't the master of the Windmaster fan, and after all, and naturally couldn't handle it as smoothly as Shi Qingxuan. The proper angle and power were both difficult to grasp. It was either too strong or too weak, either off course or completely backward. After realizing this, Shi Lian gave up and changed tactics. He snapped the fan shut and used it as a blunt weapon instead, furiously striking the creature's weak points. He then opened the fan again, and with another snap, a sheen of spiritual aura gathered on the edge of the fan, turning it into a razor-sharp steel blade. It slashed through the air, its glint chilling. Shi Qingxuan probably figured out what he was doing and cried out despairingly, Your Highness, what's wrong with you? That's my spiritual device. I can't believe you're using it as a martial weapon. What a waste of God's gift. This was a common flaw when it came to martial gods. Though he was otherwise occupied, Shi Lian spared a moment to say flatly, It's all the same, makes no difference. Agaga. Hua Cheng's tone was becoming harsher. Shi Lian knew what he was pressing for, and as he fought, he rapidly scanned his surroundings. There was picturesque natural scenery, as well as towers and pavilions. However, ultimately nothing stood out that could indicate where he was. The Reverend of Empty Words noticed his movement, and probably guessed his objective. You're not Shi Qingxuan, it stated.